Hi guys. Oh yeah. Yeah, I love hanging out with people from Brazil. I feel like a Southern Hemisphere sort of connection. Yeah. I was just looking here. I was just thinking because I always like to stretch. I'm famous for sitting in meetings, trying to open up the hips and things like that. Do you know? So we just asked Gemini. If an adult spend less than 3 hours a day sitting, their life expectancy increased by 2 years. And then here's another one. People who spend 9 hours or more a day sitting have a premature death rate twice as high as those who move around. So I was just thinking, why don't we all just stand up for a minute? Seriously, if you want to die soon, stay seated. If you don't want to die soon, just have a quick stretch. It's okay. You can reach up. You can do this, Chris. I've got your phone because you did this for me. Isn't it good just to move around a little bit? I'm sorry, this might feel unusual, but it's come on. Everyone's flown here. Who was on a plane yesterday or the day before? Everyone was flying, sitting for hours. And isn't San Francisco? Was there any direct flights? There's none. It's crazy. It's direct to LA. Some direct to LA. Miami. It's Houston. It's not good. All right. Hi, everyone. Everyone feeling better? Loosen up a bit. Oh. All right. Let's go. Let's get into it. I'm going to sit down because I'm pretty informal and familiar with people. But hopefully this is interesting. Do I need a clicker or do I just yell out? There's a clicker. And this is it? Yeah. Sweet. How many people in the audience did this trip to New York last year where I was here? So how many people did not go to New York last year with Google? And this is their first trip for a while to Google. All right, so quite a bit. All right, awesome. All right. So if I'm talking too fast, if my Australian accent is difficult to understand, just wave your hand and just say that again, just in Brazilian, Portuguese. You're already struggling.
No, I'm not.
Oh my God. It's going to be horrible already. Yeah, just go, guys, come on. Come on, do it, be more simple. So hello everyone. My name's Paul. I run our global agency business for Google's media part of the company. So there's Google Cloud, there's all these different parts within Google. I focus on our media business, so anything that's related to our advertising business. And I work with all of the countries around the world, and we just try and what we really try and do is help advertisers solve their business problems by having a really vibrant third-party ecosystem. Marketers can't solve the problems they have without partners. They can't do it. And so my job is to help Google sales teams understand that. So our Google sales teams are speaking the right way about our third-party ecosystem. It's my job to speak with marketers to keep reminding them that the best stuff they do is most of the time activated through a partnership they have with a third party. And then it's you guys, we call you third parties, but you're the first party in this one. How do we continue to work together to innovate your business so you can deliver those incredible capabilities that you have locked inside your own organizations to the end client? Because when you guys do great work, it helps us. So it's completely self-serving. We need you to be super vibrant. We want our customers to see the value that you bring. And I just want to talk about some of the things I'm saying. It's going to be super conversational. There is a presentation here. You've probably already worked out I have no problems going off script. just having a conversation. So if something comes up that you're going, can you say more about that? Or if you disagree, or you've got a point to add, like I learned from you guys here. You guys are the professionals. And because my job spans multiple markets, this is what I've learned. 80% of it is the same. But we always like to talk about the 20% that's different, and we forget that 80% is the same. But sometimes the 20% that's different is really different. And I just want to highlight that Brazil, for me, is really different. Like compared to how Australia works or the US works or Germany works, Brazil's got some nuances with how you guys work with media, with creative, with the ecosystem. It's different. So always feel free to grab me because I can learn from you guys so much when you guys say, hey, yeah, I know what you're saying here. This might work in the UK or in France, but in Brazil, that's not how it rolls. Like I really love learning those things from you guys. It's awesome. And I want to come back to Brazil soon. So it needs to be fun.
Please come.
So then you guys want to take me out to lunch and do some cool stuff. All that kind of stuff. Here's my entire speech. Right, where do we go next? Here we go. Let's go. So 12 months ago, I did a talk to some of you in the room, and I'm going to do a quick recap of that. And what it was I spoke about the productivity paradox. And there's a ton of research that shows when a new technology is introduced, there's a lag time from when the technology is introduced and people understand it to when the benefits of that technology come to bear. There's a couple of, I think they're MIT, McAfee and Brigolfson. Someone in the room was an expert last year. There was a guy from IPG from Brazil, from Sao Paulo, that knew all about this. He's not here today, is he?
No, I think it's not.
Quem era?
No?
From Labur. He's no longer on IPG.
He's no longer on.
No.
Anyway, I was impressed. But you are, so I'm impressed with you too. What's really interesting about this is it talks about the delay, and you can see here. There's a quote here from the 1980s. There's a computer everywhere, but it's not in the productivity statistics. We're seeing this play out right now. That we're in that sort of. There's a bit of a slump happening in the press. There's more and more articles being written and studies being shown saying, well, where's this AI showing up? It's exactly what Gopi was just saying when he was talking about the lily pads in the pond. We're saying, hey, the lily pads are arriving, and then people are going, oh, I'm not seeing it. But we know it's going to be a massive rush. It's the Bill Gates quote, Gopi. People overestimate the impact of technology's impact in 12 months and underestimate the impact of the technology over 10 years. And Gopi's lily pad analogy really just like cut to the core of that. Although it wasn't Gopi's, it was Mike's. The
more brilliant Mike.
Yeah, but maybe that's what happens on these days. Everything blends into one anyway. So let's jot that down and not remember that because clearly it's an insight. But we've seen this before, and the story that I told last time was just a history lesson about when we moved from the steam engine to electricity. And eventually, it was a triple in productivity for society when we went from steam engines to electricity. Do you know how long it took? For those of you last year, 30 years. And the big insight from last year's presentation was it wasn't until organizations realized they had to reshape how their factory floor was configured that they started to get the benefits of electricity. And the reason for that was steam engines needed to be near a combustion source to generate the steam. The further the engine away was from the heat source, the less powerful the steam. It's like a locomotive train. In the movies, we see people throwing coal into the engine that generates the steam, and that pulls along. Well, in a factory, you needed those steam engines everywhere in these facilities. So any manufacturing plant had lots of little mini steam engines around the building. And when electricity came about, people didn't realize that you could just run a cable under the floor and you could completely change the configuration of factories. It took over 30 years for people to sort of move from the old school setup you can see on the screen here to the new school, how manufacturing floors. And the point was, if you want to get the best out of the technology, you've got to think not just about the technology, you have to think about your organization. And in our business, in the marketing business, the agency, well, what does that actually mean for us? And then so I'm jumping around a bit here, but we then spoke about you've got to change your factory floor. Now, there was another piece of insight research we've done along the way. So earlier this year, Google commissioned Boston Consulting Group to do some research about the agency ecosystem. So we got BCG to go out and interview hundreds of people that work inside of agencies, and then hundreds of marketers. And two really, really interesting statistics. Oh, hang on, people are taking photos. Two really interesting statistics came out of that. So the first was when BCG compared the level of proficiency, the level of capability from within the agency ecosystem compared to in the marketer's own marketing departments. The agencies were 35% more sophisticated, more advanced. Now, this to me makes sense. And the reason why it makes sense is marketers have been outsourcing their marketing to you guys forever. Like, it's only in the last few years that marketers have gone, oh shit, we've been outsourcing this stuff to our partners forever. Maybe we should be doing a little bit of it ourselves. So now there's a little bit of back and forth with how do I understand actually what's going on, because they've empowered you guys. You guys are the experts and have all that capability. And when BCG goes out there and checks the market, it comes back and says 100%. Here's the opportunity on the right-hand side. Only 42% of advertisers think that their agency has helped educate them on AI. Like, we got this insight back and went, whoa, like what a gap. Like, the ecosystem's more sophisticated, and yet the people who are unsophisticated don't have the confidence that the ecosystem can help them advance. This just screams to me opportunity. Like, this is just a massive opportunity. And this is a sidebar, by the way. I'm on a complete tangent. When we were just wrapping up that last session, we were talking about what are some of the things we need to do. Just as a group, storytelling. And we could maybe talk on this in the breaks. I'm hanging out for most of the afternoon. I do think the agencies that are best at storytelling around their capabilities are the ones that are winning with clients. People who can translate their AI capability just into a way of communicating that's emotive and just makes the customer feel that they're at the center of the transformation. It is really, really important. It goes back to the comment about, you know, I need an AI strategy. I need to understand your business strategy. And it's like, you guys, when you're with your customers, need to talk about your customers' business problems and how you're solving their business problems with your capabilities, but don't talk about your capabilities. Does that make sense? It was a mouthful. I think that's really important. So where does that lead us? Research also showed that within the agency landscape, there are organizations who are separating themselves from the masses. Now, when the research was done, there was a 40-60 split. And this was about how do you leverage AI at scale. So this particular research was looking at who within your community is best at using the platform-based AI. So whether that's in Meta's Advantage Plus or Google's PMax or in YouTube, the organizations that are understanding the capabilities that are embedded in platforms, they're differentiating their own capabilities as they combine their expertise, the expertise within the agencies with the expertise that's been built into the platforms for advantage. I think this is going to end up in a standard Pareto dynamic. There's 20% that the bell curve always wins out over time. So there's a clear opportunity here. If you're winning with your customers, you can continue to differentiate yourself if you lean into this. So this is again another opportunity. So we looked at last year, how are people redesigning their factory floor. And the three areas in last year's presentation we're talking about improving productivity. And these themes are going to come up now because I'm just going to talk about some of the challenges I'm seeing now and get your input to this. I've got a time check, by the way. I'm all good. The areas we looked at last year were about how you automating processes. I'm going to talk about some examples along with some organizations as to how you're doing that. The second one is expanding service lines. There's a huge opportunity around capability building that we'll talk about. And then what's happening with new technology development. When we work with BCG, we actually ask them if they could look at some of these examples and quantify the business benefit back to your organizations for making innovations here. And the numbers are pretty impressive. There's one thing on this, by the way. We do have a value consulting org that works primarily in the US, but I think we can get access to it in Brazil. Is that Shannon Stark's team works into Brazil?
Yes.
I don't think both. I don't think we have
You don't
any
think so?
consultants in Brazil. We do have sales engineers,
Yeah,
but we don't have value consultants.
right. But they are in the US, and I could convince them to do some stuff with some of you guys
That's
if
right,
we could.
and I can help all.
You can help with that. I do think if you guys ever have to talk to your own CFO about quantifying some of the benefits that you're seeing in your own organization, that's a conversation I think you should pick up with with Cami and Chris and the team here. And if we could help translate some of these numbers that we're seeing for your own organization, I think that's something that's worth maybe thinking about, because you guys are battling for resource and investment to do particular things. So when I see these ROI numbers, I think, how can we use them for your benefit? So just a little side note. So the question now becomes, how are you redesigning your factory floor? So for the rest of this, I'm just going to talk about some examples. I'd love to sort of get some questions from people or discussion points, and we can see where it goes. Pausing right now, does this all make sense? Everyone's tracking? Any questions right now? All good?
Yeah.
Happy days. This next section, I just want to frame through some of the challenges that I think are happening in the marketplace. Like it's in the sort of category of if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And there's some real unique challenges here. The three challenges that I want to frame the sort of opportunity within is just around the margin pressure, especially on your businesses and how customers are behaving. And I'd be very interested to see how this is manifesting itself in Brazil due to AI. The second piece is, how do we balance internal innovation with external service capability building? We'll talk about some examples there, and I'd love to hear more from you guys. And then the final point here is, how can the technology moment, the AI moment, how are you leveraging it to create Trojan horse opportunities to break into new clients? Everything's always about growing your business and delighting your customers and finding new customers. And this moment I'm seeing the ecosystem innovate in ways where there's new opportunities, either for yourself to develop technology or to partner with others who have, to bring new value-added services in new ways to customers. So it'll be interesting with that. There is a cool Brazil use case, but then some of you guys are doing pretty interesting things as well. So let's start with the profitability pressures that exist. I've been exposed to this a lot. I get to travel a lot with my job, which is fun, and it's also stressful. As such, I plan it out. So my travel's pretty well planned until June of next year already. But that's what you've got to do so your wife doesn't like chop your head off, so everyone knows when you're around. What's interesting through that is I've had conversations with people in Germany, in Canada, in Singapore, in the US, the UK about this topic, and I'm finding it consistent everywhere. And my greatest concern is that procurement departments inside of marketers are just expecting any efficiency gains from AI that get driven into your businesses, which have historically been human capital, FTE-based business models, just get passed directly to the marketer. And which creates a win-lose dynamic between the marketer and the ecosystem, and a race to the bottom with regards to how you guys could actually end up competing against each other in the marketplace, and it doesn't create a healthy market dynamic. So the question becomes, how do we change the conversation with marketers, and how do we educate them and move them forward to a more win-win dynamic with regards to the economics, especially when you guys know what, and when we all know the investment required to get good at marketing in the age of AI. People have to go through new training courses. They need to get upskilled. We need to invest in technology. We need to spend time maybe standing up new capabilities within the organisation. All of this stuff requires more investment from your organisation into your own organisation. And if your customers are meanwhile saying, well, no, we want to reduce the revenue that we pay you, they're doing that whilst you're trying to increase your investments, deliver these capabilities, upskill your talent, and send them on training programs or whatever's required, you can see that things don't break. I think things will break. The way that the market is moving to address this is shift to talking about, we're going to deliver an outcome for you. So that's really common now in lots of places. Is this happening in your market? Can I get a little tag right now from you guys as to how this is manifesting in Brazil? Anyone have anything to add? Yes.
Some of our clients like freeze the headcount until they are using AI on every single area on the client. So we are not reducing, but we're not able to upselling in this client.
And how many of you guys are looking at that, are now working with customers and having conversations about, well, how about you pay us based on the business metrics we can move your business versus the people that are on the account? Is that happening in Brazil?
I think it's starting to happen, but it's a hard conversation. I mean, it's not easily accepted. Usually with, procurement, it's not something you can talk about. You need to start talking about with, the business decision makers, because otherwise it's gonna go to the bottom.
It'll go as a pear-shaped. So let's just talk about some examples then. What I'm starting to see is the CEOs of your businesses. Actually, can I just get who's at an indie here? Who works at a smaller agency? Small, yeah. Who works at one of the big five? WPP, IPG, Glass, and then Jellyfish, Marks, or something like that. It's Marks, right? All right. So if I look at the C-suite of many of your organisations here, like internationally, let's just pick John Rand, for example, at Omnicom as a classic of what they've been doing. They're seeing this pressure, so they start to react in the investments they make and how they talk to the market. So what's really interesting is you look at and I'm sure people don't really go and listen to investor relations calls by CEOs when they're talking to analysts in New York City. If you get, though, the transcript of how John Rand, the CEO of Omnicom, is talking to the Wall Street analysts about the trends in advertising, he's trying to change this narrative right now. And he's actively saying to the market that marketers are now realizing that marketing is not a cost center. Marketers are realizing that marketing as a function and media is a competitive differentiator that can drive and impact business outcomes. So the way that he's talking to the Wall Street is trying to shift this perception because of this dynamic. Because if Wall Street believes that with AI, it just means these people-based models can't add value, it's going to impact the market capitalization, share price of these organizations. So the narrative changes to be we can drive and impact the outcomes of our customers, the business outcomes of our customers. This then starts to manifest itself in the investments that get made. So Omnicom spent about $700 million buying a e-commerce outcomes-based marketing technology company called Flywheel. Now, initially that's been rooted in Amazon capabilities in the e-commerce, but now Google is now working with Omnicom Flywheel to then bring the shopping capabilities of Google into the outcomes-based decisioning approaches that Omnicom kind of take to market. So they're combining technology with then data to have a different conversation with the C-suite around how I can move the needle for you. Now, this introduces an interesting piece of tension, because this tension is that constant tension, and this is the challenge with AI right now, I think, from a marketing standpoint, is the tension between performance and brand. If you want to drive an outcome, the types of businesses that are best at understanding what a business outcome is probably tend to be ones that have simpler metrics to drive. Yes, you can get an auto company rallying around driving test drives as a business outcome. But often you'll find those organizations pushing back the more traditional media metrics, and they won't drive for a business. Whereas if you're an online travel agency, or if you're selling insurance over the internet, it's easier to find a business metric. The challenge, though, those business metrics can drive your whole marketing budget to be more performance-based versus getting the blend right between performance and brand. So there's some interesting dynamics that present themselves here. Now, this is manifesting itself in marketers too. So if I look at Google marketing is now trying to work out, all right, how can we get more sophisticated with technology to understand what actually moves the needle for our business? If Google needs to get more people to download Gemini onto their phones, then what's the right metric that we need to pursue to get that outcome? And then how should we be working with our agency if that's really important for us to be successful as a company? So we're really leaning into that as a planning process. Procter & Gamble, L'Oreal, Dell, these are all companies that are now changing how they think about marketing to be more focused on what's the outcome that can be produced versus just thinking about marketing in a traditional way. So I think it's a significant mindset shift. It's a significant investment shift in technology, and it's a different conversation with the C-suite. It does expose any dynamics between a CMO and a CFO, and where there's misalignment or not will depend where you can go in this. But increasingly, I think you will find coming into the Brazilian market, even given the nuances in how media works in your market, this will be a trend that you'll see continue to evolve over the next 12, 24 months, and will impact the marketplace. What else do I have here? You'll also see little things, how we show up, that'll drive this. So look at the Omnicom IPG acquisition. But the reason why it's important in this context of the pressure on outcomes, you can see the things that organizations are doing and how it impacts. One of the primary reasons for that acquisition is for Omnicom to acquire the Axiom data asset that IPG has. And why is that important? Because as we shift to an outcomes-based narrative, agencies want to be able to have as much data as possible that they can then offer up to marketers to say, we can help connect a consumer outcome to a business outcome for you. We can offer some data. We can offer that as a value-added part of our service and offering to you as a part of our media offering. So we bring technology, we bring data, and we can help do that. Now that is driving change on the Google side. So forever and a day, Google would not allow agency ID spaces into YouTube. We are now in Q4 just launching a pilot to start allowing agency audience data to be used to target against YouTube, which is like an exciting development for us. It shows that Google's investing in the assets that the ecosystem builds to do that. And then the next step from that is, can we get that same agency ID space leveraged for measurement? So we can continue to build out those things. So it's sort of this trend drives changes in how we show up as a partner to you guys. The next thing we talk about is like, you've got to build comprehensive capabilities. So the moment now is how are you building comprehensive capabilities? And there's a few things that we're seeing here that are really interesting. Going back to the point I was saying earlier around marketers need a third-party ecosystem, there was a MIT AI study that was just released. It's so weird, actually. It's an MIT study, but it was published in the Harvard Business Review. So I get really confused about it. Because at MIT, Harvard, everyone's in Boston. It's kind of strange. But within that, there's some little nuggets contained within that around AI projects that are twice as successful if there's a third party involved. Really interesting, right? Twice as successful if there's a third party helping to drive an outcome. So the other insights from that is the smaller and more specific the use case, the greater likelihood of success. 10 minutes. The other interesting insight from that work, pilots are the enemy of winning with AI. Because 95% of pilots never get out of pilot stage. So there's a lot of resources being burned up doing pilots. So the antidote is leverage a third party, get smaller, don't pilot, roll something out to scale as quickly as possible. But in terms of building capabilities, this is what we need to do to sort of get back to basics to build transformational capabilities around AI. We're seeing this happen in front of house and back of house. So you've got to look at how you're building capabilities back of house, how you're building capabilities front of house if you can go to market. If consumers are reacting around what Google calls the 4 S's, so the 4 S's for Google is consumers are spending more time streaming online video, they're spending more time searching more than ever across different surfaces within Google and outside of Google. They're spending tons of time shopping on the internet. And then what's my 4th S? Scrolling, streaming, and then scrolling the media on the phones as well. So the short form video as well as long form video, shopping and searching. Understanding those consumer dynamics, that's what our marketers are grappling with as consumers move at that speed across those 4 S's. Inside of the marketing organization, we know that there are 3 core use case areas we need to activate against. There's creativity, creative content, there is measurement and insights, and then there is media and personalization. They're the 3 use case categories we see. So those 2 frameworks have to intersect with how we bring capability to market. And the question is the capability being addressed through your back office or your front office? And we've got some cool stories here. Where's my jellyfish person in the front row? And I could do examples from pretty much every agency that I get to interact with on a global scale. But Jellyfish has an internal platform called Jump. You can actually look up some press. Jellyfish has been unafraid to publicize what they've been doing around building agents into their media process. So if you do a quick search for Jellyfish media agents, you'll be able to read some articles in the press about these types of things. What's that?
Or talk to me.
Yes, or you come here and get the rundown. But what's really interesting here is Jellyfish knows, and as all of you do, the actual business of getting insights, planning a campaign, tracking a campaign, doing reporting and optimizing a campaign is repetitive, human intensive, prone to mistakes, and it's often boring. Like trafficking a campaign, it's horrible. It's boring. We're reporting. So much reporting gets generated off campaigns. We don't even do the reporting at the right cadence to deliver an insight to the marketer because just there's so much there. It's moving so quick. The tools aren't there. So they're going, well, how can we streamline that process by taking all of the best practices that we have as a digital first agency and use this technology moment to create a platform that drives incredible amounts of efficiency into our organization, which then frees up our people to be better salespeople, more insightful people, and deliver capabilities back into our customer base. So this is a classic example of capability building from back of office into front of office that then translates to benefit. The WPP story here is, how do you take a data asset and combine it with a go-to-market consulting asset and bring a simpler approach to data strategy by bringing a consulting service together, simplifying how they're going to market with their acceleration unit, bringing that into the choreograph team and having a simpler go-to-market capability around those pieces. Now, I'm seeing other organizations do these as well. So in terms of capability, Monks has got 3 great YouTube AI first service packages. So they've taken the time to look at how can we make it easier for our customers to understand how to deploy the AI capabilities of YouTube. We should build 3 really simple service packages that our salespeople can understand, because everyone's got like stuff coming at them for every angle. We have to simplify that down so they can take that service package to market. Brain Labs is an agency that operates in the US. They're out of the UK. They're really good with data strategy. Again, they've simplified their data strategy offering aligned to a digital maturity model that they've been able to take to market. So they're thinking about a specific capability, a specific use case, either front of house or back of house, and then they take that to market as a opportunity in this moment to sort of win with AI. And then the final one that I want to talk about is the Trojan horse opportunity. So if someone to ask me what's the big change that's happening in your businesses, I would say this: you are moving from a services business enabled by technology. The Jump example from Jellyfish is an example of that. But if we were going to talk about core AI or WPP Open or Interact or the Omni platform, any of those, it's an example of services enabled by technology. The big shift is, over the next few years, we are then going to be technology providers that are enabled with services. And this presents a massive Trojan horse opportunity to get into new customers and land and expand your offerings outside of any agency of record pitching process. And we're seeing great examples here. How do you win new clients outside of the pitch process? And the answer is that technology can help you do that. Making Science, are people familiar with Making Science in Brazil? They're founded in Spain. Are they in Brazil or are they just working in Spanish or Latin?
They are not there yet.
They're not in Brazil.
No.
This is very interesting then. I think Making Science is a really, really innovative organization. It's worth looking at what they're doing, because you could probably steal some ideas for your own agency from looking at what Making Science is doing, and they're not operating in Brazil. So you can take their learnings, knowing that they don't have a footprint there because it's not part of their strategy right now. They're trying to break into the US and Spanish-speaking Latin, based off of their roots in Spain. What's really interesting here is Hama, the CEO of Making Science. He sort of identified this technology trend. He saw, if people have ever been to Mallorca, the island just off of Spain, it's really beautiful, but it's home to like so many online travel agencies. So he noticed there was lots of Spanish companies. Actually, you're from Catalan, Marta, you know this well. He identified that there were some startups innovating technology, specifically making or automating search campaigns. So all of the legwork around a search campaign, they were building into a technology solution, and they were selling a technology. It's called Ad Machina. So he went out and acquired this little company that only had like 5 people on the island of Mallorca, and now he's packaged it up and he goes to market leading with this search automation tool that sits on top of Google, and now it sits on top of Facebook campaigns as well and others, that streamlines the workflows required to execute the best of what Google and Meta can provide inside of our platforms. Now, he now leads that as a technology sale. He's now built a sales force and a specific part of his agency around leading with the tech sale, which has created an opportunity. Now, again, there are other opportunities. There's an organization incubator that's got a product called Seamless Search. You can look up that and check out there. Jellyfish, again, is leading the way here. people would have heard of Pencil Pro. Share of model is, again, a technology-led way to get into a customer to talk about how brands are being represented across these different chatbots and AI mode and these new forms of search. SEO is changing to a generative experience. Jellyfish has worked out a way to productize an offering that enables them to get into clients and start to expand their conversation. So it's technology-led and then build service opportunities off the back of it. So this is why I call this the Trojan horse opportunity. Now, in Brazil, there's just a classic example of this happening with Tracto. So how many people are familiar with Tracto in Brazil, the creative and content startup? Tracto is another example of a Trojan horse offering. So what's great, the opportunity for you guys, and this is actually happening here, new partnerships have been formed. So Africa has worked with Tracto to deliver new types of capabilities into its customer base. So, you know, Africa doesn't have to build the capability themselves. They can partner with a Brazilian startup to deliver a capability. It's no different to what Arma's doing with Ad Machina or what Jellyfish is doing with Share of Model, but you're doing a technology-led, service-enabled sales strategy to get into customers and redefine how they're doing creative and content in an age of AI via a Trojan horse offering that is underpinned by a partnership with an innovative new Brazilian company that's entering the space. So you can see here across those categories of where do I start? Guys, remind me, outcomes, like how do you deploy technology and data to bring a new outcomes-based offering in this time of AI disruption? How do you bring new capabilities and build a capability, either a backup office capability and make it a differentiated offering, which improves your margin, which frees up, or a capability where you bring, say, a new service to market. And then finally, does the technology Trojan horse lead with the technology supported with the service approach? These are the trends that I'm seeing play out around the world, and they're definitely happening in Brazil. And I think the opportunities, they're just examples of the 35% higher levels of sophistication that exists in your organization and your customers. So I'm super excited to work with you all, spend time with you, brainstorm how you can take this innovation to your customers so you can keep winning. And, you know, we do that out of love for you guys, but we know when you guys win, we win. So we want to make sure that you guys are all super successful. And thanks for spending a little bit of time. That's when you break into rapturous applause and then write down the big takeaway from this, because that's what he's about to ask.
Thank you. Round of applause. We're going to take a 5-minute bio break. There's snacks and coffee and tea in the back, and bathrooms are down this hall to the right. We'll be back here at 11:30.